Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Digital Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Karen McCarran, and this is brought to you by The Content Company. And I'm introducing my other Ken. Who are you?
Ken McCarran, I think you said the content company twice in that intro,
I
but that's
did.
cool. Content company, yeah. It's quite a content company anyway. So
Wow.
yeah.
Hey, that's
Consider
good marketing. You got
myself
to say
brought
it
to you by the
twice.
content company. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you said about 15 times.
Take it away,
Anyway,
Kara.
okay. So we have on the show today a good friend of mine who it seems that I've either met these people in Tony land or in digital marketing land, obviously. So this guy, Brian Hardy, he is a dear friend of mine. I always say that if we were in school together, we would have been the kids that were separated by the teacher for giggling and acting stupid all the time because we've crewed together. And last year we crewed a business mastery event with Tony Robbins. And there's a lot of times when we probably shouldn't have been laughing in the room, quote, in the room. And we were. And so Brian and I just have a really good time. And he's a very smart and just a beautiful human. And I feel very blessed to know him. So welcome to the show, Brian. Happy to
Thank
have
you
you.
so much.
Yeah.
Hey, you can always count on us to act like 6-year-olds in professional environments, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the only way that it's fun. So,
Sure.
why don't you give everybody a little introduction into who you are and sort of how you became a digital entrepreneur? And then we'll just kind of go where it goes, ask you some questions and have a bit of fun.
Sure. Yeah. So thanks for inviting me today. I'm Brian Hardy. I have been in the digital environment for over 20 years now. Originally started in graphic design, did some print brokering. Back in 2015, decided that I wanted to get more into the online world. So I started exclusively doing web design and that sort of thing for a little while. And that really allowed me to move because we move a lot. We've lived in like all 4 corners of the country. I'm originally from Canada, similar area as you guys, and now we're going to Europe next. So that's always in the back of my mind is being able to do whatever I do remotely and be able to kind of pick up and go. So yeah, I actually exited that company last year as a result of going to business mastery and being able to kind of move on to the next thing I wanted to do. And that's where I got more into, obviously some of the hot stuff now is like AI and kind of taking the AI elements and implementing them into traditional type online marketing. And so created a platform that we launched end of last year. It's been really exciting working on that. And yeah, everything I do has always got to have that element of can I do this anywhere? Because I don't like being stuck to a place. I can never do a retail store. It's got to be digital and I got to be able to be a nomad.
Yeah. Have you ever had any, like, were you ever in a corporate environment where you had to clock in, clock out 9 to 5, go to the office, that type of thing?
Yeah, and it felt like hell. I worked for my first job was actually at a newspaper, so I had to show up every day. It was super corporate. You had to wear like a certain outfit, be professional and all that kind of stuff. And I quickly could not take that much longer. I worked at a couple more newspapers and ended up leaving there. And a really good friend of mine actually kind of showed me the entrepreneur route and kind of helped me get started. That's when I was a designer and helped me get into like print brokering. And he showed me that business. And because I was a broker and not stuck to a location, I could live anywhere and sell printing to people. And that's kind of what got me started. I have not worked at a corporate job since because they're just I can't do that. It's
And
depressing.
was the internet a thing right from when you entered the workforce? Because I know for us, me and Kara, there's pre-internet working and then it came along kind of along the way.
I mean we had internet, but you didn't so we in the newspaper we would actually create like plates and we would create the layers to print it and that sort of thing. So like digital printing wasn't much of a thing back then. I remember there'd be, Tuesday night before the paper goes out, we'd be laying out the print boards and we'd be pasting down the black and white graphics and then doing the overlays and we'd have to print those out. So yeah, it was definitely a lot different back then. And email, like you're lucky if you could get a a 2 megabyte file to show up to somebody. So it was very old school and kind of handheld done at that point.
Cool.
Yeah, that's, and I think Ken, thanks for aging us, by the way. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
All of us.
Well,
I was like,
yeah,
what do you
when
mean?
I do go
no
back to no
internet at
internet
all.
too.
Before
was
the
somebody's
internet.
thought still. Yeah.
What?
I mean, this was back when you'd have to do like storage on like Jazz drives and whatever the hell the other ones were. You could barely get any files on there. Like one client gets like 3 different disks to hold all their stuff.
Yeah. Oh man. I my first job was when well, not my first job, but I'd say my first, grown up job was working for Naylor Publications in Winnipeg, and we sold ad copy or ads in association magazines. And I met Ken. That's when the year I met Ken. And it was like so super like Glengarry, Glen Ross type environment, like boiler room kind of shit. And I was
always
like,
be closing.
it was like that. And I did well, but I hated my life. Like even at that age, I was like, holy shit. And I was a single mom. So I had to work in that environment. When did you feel like, so I think I like talking about, I spent probably the better part of 20 years feeling badly that I was an entrepreneur at heart and trying to fit into the mold that all my friends, they're going to university and they were doing all this shit. And I had zero desire. Like I went to marketing in college for a little while, but like nothing substantial. And I remember thinking for really the better part of 20 years, there's something wrong with me. Why don't I want to do this traditional route? Why don't I want to go work for 9 to 5 or be an accountant or be da-da-da? And I thought there's something fundamentally wrong because I didn't want to go that direction. And now, as 28 years later, I'm like, oh, you just didn't want to be in the matrix.
Thank God you didn't.
I get, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would even be here. Like, I hate it that much that I don't even know where I might be an alcoholic, fucking who knows what. When did you realize that? Because all of our generations, like we're all various ages, but we're in the same vicinity. We were told that you go to school, you get married, you do that whole thing. When did you kind of think, holy, that's not for me? And I don't care if it's scary. I'm going to go do this anyway. Like, was it really at that job, or give me a sense of like when you thought?
It was probably before that. It was probably in high school. I actually dropped out my first month of junior year, and it was because I felt like I didn't belong there. Like it was holding me back from whatever it is I was supposed to do at that point. So I think it probably started there. And of course, you got to go get a job. So that's where I landed in the newspaper jobs and worked at some print shops and stuff like that. But I think I kind of knew it then. Like I felt like I was stuck, and like I like to move forward fast and quickly. And so like being in a situation that I felt was not serving me, high school in that scenario, which then turned into corporate job type scenario. I just always felt like I didn't belong there. And the idea of like working for 30, 40 years in a place or living in a place that long, just like, I mean, that sounds like hell to me. So like constant change and like uncertainty and all that kind of stuff. And so I've always kind of been that route. Like I need to move on to the next thing. Like there's so much more cool stuff out there. And so yeah, if that answers the question, I think it was around that time, and it quickly became apparent as I started working those corporate jobs that like I definitely didn't belong there. I've always felt that if there's 8 hours in a day, and in the corporate environment, you're expected to sit there and work, right? Even if there's only like 3 hours worth of work.
Yep.
I always felt like I'm being punished by being fast because I like to get things done quick. And so in a corporate environment, it's like I got to pretend like I'm doing something the other 7 hours of the day. Whereas if you own your own thing, if you've got the jobs coming in and the finances are okay and you knocked out everything you needed to do in 2 hours, well, like, why not go to the beach the rest of the day? Why do you have to work?
Yeah.
Like that just I never understood that. Like you should be rewarded for being efficient and quick, not punished.
Right.
So I think that's probably why I didn't last very long in corporate.
So talk a little bit about, because there's this school of thought where it's easy. Like what we do is easy. It's easy to make money. It's it's easier. I'd say it's the easiest time in history to be able to make money online for sure. But I think there's this, and you're just coming off of an event with Tony RPM, which is a new event, and so it's perfect time to have this podcast because everything's nice and fresh in your mind and in moving in with speed. But maybe talk a little bit about, you've been at it for 20 something years. I've been at it for like well over 25 years. Ken's been a copywriter for almost 20 years in digital. Talk a bit about the myth, I guess, around digital and quick money and that sort of narrative where it's, like, I mean, you've seen every ad where it's like, make 5 figures in your first 30 seconds and drive a fucking Ferrari and all that shit. Like, I know that
they're bullshit.
So maybe
They're
talk a
selling
bit about
courses.
exactly.
Um,
But just talk a bit about that and all the time and experience you've put into your craft, because you didn't just wake up knowing what you know.
No, I mean, I've gotten my ass kicked for 20 years as well to get to where I'm at today. Like I wouldn't I wouldn't never take it back and not do it again. Like, it's been great, and it's allowed me to essentially, live the lifestyle I want to live as far as the freedom of picking up and going and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it definitely has its challenges. There's been those late nights of like figuring out where the hell you're going to get, money to pay your mortgage that month, and all that. But the cool thing about it is also, like, at the same time, you have control over that. Like, if you just sit down and think about it, reach out to a couple people, maybe opportunities kind of come up. Like, anytime in the earlier days, more so often, where there's those times of like, holy shit, how am I going to pay bills next month? You start thinking like, all right, who can I reach out to? Who can I partner with? Who can I see if they need my help? And you just start going through that. It's not really a sales process, but you're just reaching out to the people and just seeing, who you can help and serve. And I've always found in those scenarios where I've done that, it ended up working out just fine. And it's never been to the point where I think some people maybe experience where it was so slow and they were out on the streets. It's never gotten to that point. I've always been, I guess, resourceful enough to where I see things are declining. All right, what do I got to do to stop this? What do I got to do to change it? Is it uncomfortable for a little bit? Sure. But then it all works out. And then, I'd found speaking of RPM, like going to some of these continued education just kind of helps you, one, network more. I mean, you meet more people and then you can grow that way, especially in digital. But, you just get a new way of thinking about it, and you learn something new when you're supposed to, and then you can apply that and grow the business even more. So, it all has stages, like Tony says, the infant to toddler to adult, and you can see that in the life cycle if you look back at your business when you're in those different scenarios.
We were just talking about that yesterday, about how people who have the 9 to 5 mentality and jobs, they don't have the same potential. They know this is how much speaking of finances, we always have potential to
go
take it
more
to another level, and then there's a cap, there's a ceiling. This is all I have. And even like looking back when I was working and stuff, it's not terrifying necessarily, but it's a hopeless kind of feeling. You're just looking, you kind of get into that mundane. That's why they, shuffling along here in Toronto, we have the GO train, like it goes into Toronto from all the other towns, and you can see there's a tunnel going up to walk up to the platform, and people in the morning just kind of shuffling along. It's like they've lost hope, and they know it, and they don't know what to do because their future's kind of been determined for them. They're thinking of this many years till, like me, I'm 53, I would be out. Just 12 more years now, and then I can pack it in and barely survive for the rest of my life on what pension that I had. It's it's
just
they may not think that they may not think that consciously, but it's in there, and it's just having this potential, I think, is. But back to your thing, Kara, you're saying, I guess the point was that the online people a lot of the time just show the end result, but they don't show what it took to get to that end result, which is a lot of lonely nights and long nights and hard work and almost crashing right down to zero and then bringing yourself back up again. And like there's a roller coaster that because it's not all, and I'm sure those 19-year-olds don't have Ferraris and stuff like that, but obviously that's just, here's your side hustle. Yeah, I can get you to make $70,000 a month. Just take this video over here and click it over here and put it over here and use some AI and then da da da. Yeah, no problem. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and then
you're
you'll
right,
make
it's
more than
challenge.
corporate America does instantly just by doing these 2 things a day.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because people, sorry, I was just gonna say, like, these young people, and let's be honest, actually, it's not even just young people. I would say it's people that are our age, in their 40s, who are like, I hate my fucking life. Like, I need to do something
Mhm.
different. What am I gonna do? And they'll see a couple of ads and boom, all of a sudden they're dropping 20 grand on a course that promises to teach them whatever. And like, even with us, Brian, you know, deep, like, you have intimate knowledge of what we're doing. We're building a whole, basically it's like an entire new business from what we've
Mhm.
done for the last 10 years. And you know, I can get caught up in we're slow to the game because it looks like everybody on planet Earth is doing what we're doing. However, that's not the truth. My Raz is primed right now to just see people who are doing what we're about to do. But it
Mhm.
feels like a startup for us again. We have the benefit of 10 years of running this company, but like, there's people in my general age bracket where they're like, oh my God, I hate everything I'm doing. I want to start something new. And they go to start something like digital and it crashes and burns. And then, like, to me, that's even worse because
Well, they're
Yeah.
not willing to
you're
donate their weekends for the next year, though, too. Well,
no,
as soon as I hear anybody say, well, you can't expect me there. Oh, well, I'm not going to stop doing what, then you know you're fucked basically right from the get-go because you got to give
Yeah.
up stuff. Initially, at least for that first year, 6 months, you don't have weekends, you don't have
no.
your lifestyle is totally focused on that. And that's why 90 however many percent of people won't succeed because they're not willing to do the things, at least in the beginning,
Right.
that it takes.
Yeah, or at a minimum, if they if they don't want to do those things, like they should be prepared to have a budget of, someone that they can hire, whether it's leveraging,
Mhm.
a VA or leveraging, a sales or whatever it is they need in that thing to grow. Like if they don't want to put that time in, they better have the finances to do it
Yes.
because one of the two has to happen.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're gonna fucking fail.
That's
Yep.
running into it blind without a plan, I guess, is the issue.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think too, which is kind of cool, is like, you know, when you've been in something as long as the three of us have been it, you forget that not everybody knows what we know. But because it's so second
Mhm.
nature, like when you talk about digital, even me with all the years in it, I'm still like, oh my God, this guy's so cool. He knows so much shit. And it's like, even when Ken talks, I'm still like, wow, well, he's so smart. But like, we forget that it's not like, again, you didn't just wake up and decide I'm going to be digital marketer, digital entrepreneur. It's like there's decades behind our
Mhm.
methodologies and the way that we think. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and ask you a question. I think I always like to hear the answer. And I mean, I guess I kind of know it, but talk a bit about, entrepreneurship when you're online is lonely. There's no way around it. We
Mhm.
get stuck in our tunnels. I do it even as extroverted as I can be. I still get stuck in my tunnel where I'll look up, I'm like, holy fuck, it's 8 o'clock. I haven't done anything.
Right.
How do you stay sane and social in your, like, in this lifestyle that you're in?
Um, Yeah, because you're right, that's a problem. Like, when you own your own thing, you're sitting behind. I mean, I'm in an office right now, and I don't even know if there's somebody in the building where I rent here right now. Like, I don't see people ever. But a couple of the things that I've found really helpful, both from that angle and growing angle, is I am in a couple different mastermind groups. I just joined a really good sales coaching community that has basically a bunch of other people doing what I do. And that's been really helpful because if you can find, now, not all groups are great. Some groups are crap, and some groups don't have the right mindset of people in there. But sometimes you find a group, even like our crew group, it's a
Yep.
group of people that stay connected. And so that's been helpful. So like I'm in like Slack channels and I'll be chatting with other agency owners, or we'll jump on calls sometimes too. That's really helpful, and do Zoom calls and just to catch up and like, what's going on with your business, and just so you have that touch point. I mean, I'm in a BNI group right now. Picking the right one of those can be also beneficial, one for growth of your business, but to just like other business owners that are maybe going through similar stuff, and you can bounce ideas off of it. So I find that that is super helpful, is getting involved with not a ton, because obviously like your time, you have to do
Yep.
things work wise, but like getting involved with the right ones that can be super beneficial for you from a mental standpoint of like keeping around other people that are like what you're doing and bouncing ideas. That's been probably one of the biggest things and most helpful to me, and just trying to do that kind of reach out with people.
What
Do you have
about
any
like,
outside hobbies that are outside of business entirely?
Another good way to meet people too. I actually got really into scuba diving last year,
Yeah.
and I've
oh,
met
Cool.
tons of cool people in that. And it's like a big community. You get to know people on the boat, and they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna come back out and dive this day." You go meet them, and so yeah, I found that in the past I wasn't big on hobbies, and as a result, sometimes when we move around, we don't get to know people and kind of have friendships that would make us maybe want to stay there, like I have maybe in the past when I lived like in Arizona when I grew up. I mean, I need tons of people to this day. I talk to them all the time, and then a few in Washington. But if you look at other places we lived, it's like, I got nobody to talk to there. Like I would never go back. So hobbies definitely helps you kind of connect with people in the area. So where we're moving next, we've actually made it like a goal is in Portugal. We want to go out and we want to pick like hobbies that we want to do, get involved in the community more, and just get to know people, because I feel like sometimes as a business owner, you have to create those opportunities, because when you're in a corporate
yep.
environment, that's where you meet all your people, right? And you make friends at whatever job you're at. But when you own your own business, digital type style, like you're not really in those positions of meeting people, unless you go out to like networking stuff. But even some of the networking stuff, I feel a lot of times those people are just there selfishly. Like they're not
Mhm.
there to meet people and grow their thing. They're just like, what can I sell you? I want to sell you some shit. I want to sell you some
They
insurance.
have
And
an agenda, yeah, right from the
there's
get-go.
an agenda. Yeah. I've
Like
always
with
said if you
scuba
go to a
divers,
networking
yeah,
event, yeah,
they're all
scuba
scuba
divers, they're,
divers and they all want to get under the water and look at shit the same as you do. So it's a different kind of
yeah,
vibe, right?
we go in there and do it at the same time. Exactly. Yeah, I feel like the intention's different at networking things. Like they just
Mhm.
want to sell you something. But I always tell people, like if people are asking my advice for like how to get out and networking, grow their business, go to those, but have zero intention of getting business from it. Go to
Yep.
those with the intention of making connections and relationships, and those things will come naturally. But you should never go with the intention, because people smell that when they're there. And I mean, I can tell when someone comes up to me and I'm like, you just want to tell me something, and I don't really care about what you're selling, so I'm going to move on to the next person. Whereas you might connect with somebody and have a conversation for a while and maybe become friends, and that's where I see networking more beneficial.
Good point.
Yes, it is a good point, isn't it, Mr. McCarran? I'm trying to
Having
get him
Do you
hobbies?
into
guys
it.
do much of that?
No, I mean, so well, Ken, I'll let Ken explain his hobby and I'll kind of chat about what's coming
I
up for
do
me, but
outside of business hobbies. I suck shit at the networking business related activities, but I do 2 martial arts classes a week, which I've been
Mhm.
doing for since 2016, I guess, Kara, something like that, almost 8 years. And I did it before I met Kara too for a bunch of years. And currently I play golf once a week with my dad. He's 81,
Mhm.
still can play golf and still likes spending time with me. So we usually pick a day during the week just because of the digital lifestyle we have. I don't have to go on the
Yeah,
weekend when everyone else is there. I can go like on Wednesday or tomorrow. I can
perfect.
keep going when it's a little more sparse on the golf course. But yeah, so that's for me. Kara, obviously, I don't say pines, but she wishes for the Tony Robbins group that she could just go hang out probably every once a month, I guess, probably. Hey, Kara, or
yeah, I
every
mean,
couple of
yeah,
weeks, you'd probably like that because you don't really have any interests here that are outside of business stuff
no,
necessarily, except for
that's
walking in nature and that kind of stuff. There's a lot
yeah,
of stuff to do here in that
but
way.
definitely it's like I think I would probably say it of the both of us in terms of the digital lifestyle. Like I have a harder time with the lack of social life than
Mhm.
Ken does. Like he needs like for me, crewing is like a social event, and I go and I get my fill of all my people, and then crewing. And if you're confused what that means, it's like volunteering for Tony. Brian and I, that's what crewing is. You're part of the Tony Robbins crew. But crewing for me is like my number one social activity. So it is
Mhm.
challenging because I'm not doing that every month, but connecting, with like in our groups on WhatsApp is helpful. But definitely I can say, if I had it my way, we'd all live on an island somewhere together. I'd handpick probably 100 of the best people from
Yeah.
my Tony Robbins family, and we'd live all there together. But yeah, it can be challenging. I used to do hip hop a lot. I love dancing, but my
Mhm.
body at the moment is just being a pain in the ass through
It doesn't agree
perimenopause and
with
stuff.
that.
No, it's like sore joints, and everything will bounce back. Women always say like once you're through menopause, you're much better and all that shit. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I think I would say I'm still trying to navigate that part of my life because Ken and I are together all the time. And I said to me yesterday, I think it was, I was like, I need, like, I don't know how I said it, but I need to see people besides him. Like, I love my
Mhm.
husband, but holy shit, like, we're together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And
Mhm.
so I
Now
think
we're even
that,
together or doing connected in business stuff as well.
yeah, like now that I've come back into the business, we're
Yeah.
together even more. So I think, yeah, it's important to have things outside of your business. It's important to have people outside of your business. Um, For sure. And I think you have to be very intentional about that. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about mindset, excuse me,
Mhm.
when it comes to entrepreneurship in general. So
Yeah.
maybe talk a little bit about what you do to keep, because you can get down very easily in this world because
Mhm.
when I say RAS, I'm talking about reticular activating system, which basically means, and this is thing
Fancy.
we've learned from Tony. Yeah, we learned from Tony. Like if I say I want a white BMW, all of a sudden, all I'm going to see in the world are white BMWs.
Even though
So,
they were there all along. That's the
right.
idea, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
just there now, but that's my senses are picking it up now because
You're
I'm primed for
noticing
it.
them. Yeah.
So
And
I
the
think,
Instagram algorithm will also deliver you a lot
yes,
of ads for
that
it too.
is, and I will guarantee to see some ads today for it.
We will
But
see that now.
100%. But talk a little bit about like in digital, and maybe it's just me, but I know like when I'm starting to see other people doing what I'm doing, like talk a bit about your mindset around staying like, no, Maverick is the best, and or however you're wording that, and I'm still going to push forward, even though maybe there's 10 other people that I know doing it. Talk a bit
Mhm.
about how you how your mindset impacts how you run your business.
Sure. I mean, kind of two things there. As far as like mindset, I mean, I definitely get in slumps sometimes, whether it be, sales aren't going good or things are spinning my wheels and all that kind of stuff. Um, you know, and sometimes it's hard to get out of it. Sometimes my wife will just say like, we should just go on a walk to the beach or something. Like sometimes I think it's best just to walk away from it
Yep.
and then go do something else, even if you don't want to do it. Like, half the time when you're in that mode, like you don't want to get up and take a fucking walk, but like it actually does help, as stupid as that sounds. And also just like, I like to do weekend trips if we can. Like that's really helpful for me because, I'm always like, I want to move to the next place. And so
Mhm.
sometimes, like, especially now where we're at like the tail end of where we're living right now, I'm pretty ready to leave. And so there's times where I'm like just thinking about that. And so we'll go for a little weekend trip and go to the other coast and like do stuff that's completely different. So that's kind of helpful on like a weekly basis. As far as like on the business side of things, I'll share this with you. So I have a coach that's helping me with ads, and I was saying the other day, I want to pick an industry that to niche after that isn't being targeted by the million other of us that are out there, right? And then he's like, yeah, that's a good point, but if they're going after those industries because they work and they
Mhm.
spend a lot of money on these things, and I said, yeah, I get that too. So like, what do we do? And so he gave me a really good point, and it's actually helping a lot. It's working. He said, change the approach and offer you're offering to those people. Reword what you're doing. So I'll give you an example. So what he gave me, he said, all these people, agencies are offering them ad services, and there can be some negative connotation around that because everybody's been burned by an ad service, right? Like selling PPC management. And he's like, you don't do that. I said, no, I don't do that at all. So we talked about my offer, which is client re-engagement and helping them re-nurture the existing contacts they already have. And he says, there might be a few people that have a similar scenario, but the majority of them are hitting with the PPC. So if you change your language and your wording around to you guys are this solution to help them with this other problem that could be something no one else is talking about. So that was kind of a big aha moment, and ways you can apply that in other areas of outreach is just how are we solving a problem for them in a
Mhm.
completely different way than everybody else. And so that was a big mind shift for me to where I was avoiding potentially really good industries to go after that are big into advertising and all that. That was a really good mind shift for me. And as a result, I started running ads. And honestly, for the first time I've ever ran ads, and I've dabbled in the past, and it's been a complete nightmare. I got shit response. I blew a ton of money. I've gotten like 18, 19 leads now in 2 weeks just off running a
Wow,
Facebook ad. Are they
nice.
all qualified? No, but we're dialing stuff in, and we changed some things yesterday where this was a really good point. So we have a whole follow-up sequence in our system that when someone books something, it reminds them and that sort of thing. And my coach gave me a great idea of creating a custom reminder thing to that targeted group where it'll basically say, hey, your appointment's tomorrow. This is a reminder. We're going to help HVAC companies re-engage their customers, right? So it's fresh. And it was a good point because I had a meeting yesterday on my calendar as he was telling me this, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, that is such a great thing because I'm looking at an appointment at 3 o'clock today and I have no fucking clue who they are. I don't know why I booked it. And it wasn't like a sales call, it was someone else's demo wanting me to show you their services. And I'm like, you're right. I'm looking at theirs and have no clue why I'm on this call. I should do this for people coming into our leads as well.
Right.
And so that was really helpful too, and I think is making a big difference now in people coming in and qualifying them a little bit better.
Yeah.
We're just looking at creating different ways to look at the same thing, basically is what, yeah. I
Exactly. Yeah.
remember I mean, we're not supposed to talk about tactics, Kara, don't
I know
hit
I'm
me enough.
getting very mad at you. I'm just kidding.
I know. But I remember someone, I guess, online mentor type saying that it's the finding an urgent problem that someone has as opposed to just a
Mhm.
regular problem. And his comparison was you go to the doctor and they say, your cholesterol's a little high. You should probably start changing your diet. No, there's a problem. Or your artery's 90% blocked. You're going to have a heart attack next week if you don't completely change your lifestyle. That's the difference between a problem and an urgent problem. And sometimes
Mhm.
when you look for that more urgent problem, you're going to get way better responses, obviously, and stuff, because that's what someone's actually looking for
Yeah,
immediately.
makes total sense.
Sorry, Kara, go
Yeah,
ahead.
there.
No, go. It's fine. I'm just teasing you. I don't want it to end up being like a tactics show because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
enough of those. There's
Well, some people
that's not a.
watching can
I
people
know.
watching
I'm
can still
just
pick up a
teasing.
few tidbits. That's not
Yeah,
a
yeah,
bad
yeah.
tidbit. Yes,
No,
we
I
just gave
know.
some gold.
That's our free tidbits for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, excuse me. So I guess I think too the interesting part about all of what you just said, Brian, is that if you're in a place of service first for a customer or a
Mhm.
client, that will shift your mindset because you're not um sorry. If you're in a place of how can I serve versus how can I
Yes.
make money, the whole game changes. Like everything you're talking about networking in the BNI. I've had some experience out here with BNIs and they're all have in the past, don't at me if you're someone in BNI and you're going to be like, it's not like that anymore. But in the past, it was very much anybody that was there was what's in it for me?
Mhm.
And that mindset, I think in general, and part of personal development, and I do have a couple questions around that as well, but part of personal development is really learning that it's not business over there and mindset and my soul and who I am over here. It's a spiritual game. Tony talks about that all the time. Business is a
Mhm.
for sure spiritual game. So I think it's important to just mention, like, if you're listening and you've got a business and because it's even harder when you're digital because you don't have that physical connection with people.
Yeah.
It's really important to come to your business from a place of service versus a place of how do I just make money? If you're in how do I just make money? You're going to fail or hate yourself. One of those two things will happen. You're not going to sit in a
People
place
will
where you
know.
feel good. Yeah. And they'll sniff it out for sure. And so I think it's just really important to say, and I think, and I'm not trying to generalize here, but the guys of the entrepreneurial world, you guys are just starting to really understand this piece of business, that it needs to come from service and lead with your heart. Because traditionally, you guys in your masculine, in the hunter, it's just hunting. Now you're
Mhm.
starting to see the buyer, which is in a lot of
Yeah.
times, a lot of cases, it's a woman. We don't respond to that. Hey, what do I got to do to get you in this fucking cab? Right? Like nobody wants to buy from that sleazy person. I want to buy from you.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Ken and I had an appointment with a lawyer, and he was awful. Like
Mhm.
we had our accountant. Our accountant is amazing. I know how to handle him. He's Italian. He's very quintessentially Italian. But like he
Yeah.
brought this lawyer in to talk to us, and I was like, immediately no. Like ask Ken. It
Mhm.
was immediately no, because he wasn't coming from a place of service. He was coming
Yeah.
from a place of how do I get these people as clients? And
Plus
so I
he's an
think
hour
it's
late
just
too.
an hour and 15 minutes late, and that pisses me off. Like, I mean, I'm
Oh, that would drive me crazy.
it's and wasn't very apologetic. I actually called him out flat out, and I know Ken was like, oh fuck, here she goes. But I just, so I just want to reiterate, like, just because we do things that are fast, and Brian and I think Brian's like a man version of me, Ken. Like we're so identical. Like I like to do shit quickly. I don't want to fuck around. Like I'll do it wrong, but I'll do it fast so I can learn
Mhm.
and then move to the next thing. I'm not going to sit and commiserate for months and months and months. But I think it's important to just let people know that just because you're in digital and you can hide behind the screens and we can hide behind emails and texts and everything, there's still a deep, deep purpose for connection. And there's a deep purpose between your customers and leading with the heart and coming at it from a place of service. Because
Mhm.
I can tell you over the 10 years we've had our company, I've done pretty much 100% of the sales calls. And I have literally said to people, you're not ready for a content writing company. You don't require us. You can still manage this on your own. And the times
Mhm.
that they have said, what? Did you just tell me I shouldn't buy from you? And I said, that's exactly what I told you, because I'm coming
Yeah.
from a place of service. And I think that it's
Right.
important that, and I know I'm going off here, but it's my fucking show if I want. I'm just kidding. But scarcity, right? Like a lot of agency
Yeah.
owners, we lead with scarcity and we just want to get the client. And then they end up being a shitty client. So it's like, if you're coming from this place of abundance and you're coming from a place of service, that mindset, your agency will grow much quicker, and you'll feel better
Mhm.
as an owner, as an entrepreneur, when you're not just trying to like, cast a net and grab everybody that's out there, because it doesn't feel right. And I think, so I just wanted to kind of like bring that point up and say, like, it's not just about all these tactical things, like really lead with service first. And I think
Mhm.
that mindset will take you far. So, Brian, who I always sort of ask these two questions. Who's your overall biggest mentor? And then who's your sort of the fast fashion version of who you're paying attention to now? Like, is there somebody that's, because like for me, it's Tony Robbins and a few
Mhm.
others. And right now I'm very into Joe Dispenza.
And
So
Catherine
maybe,
too.
and Catherine Zenkita, yes. Who's the overall, like, who's your big one that you've thought like really changed your life? And then who are you kind of into right now?
I'd say like overall changed life would, I mean, of course, Tony Robbins, like, because I went to my first UPW when I was 15. So I've been kind of
Wow,
listening to this stuff since I was really young.
that's amazing.
So I'd say like lifetime is overall probably Tony. I really like Gary Vee stuff. I listened to him. People are always telling me I need to start listening to podcasts, and I end up just listening to music to zone out, but I'm like forcing myself to like engage in specific podcasts that can maybe serve, some different things. And so I really like Gary Vee stuff. It's just I don't know, he makes it so you don't put up with bullshit in your
Yeah.
mind. Which is important. I think everybody should listen to Gary Vee every single day. Like what a great way to pump up your day if you're into that style. Like so I like him a lot.
I like him too. He's
Those
good.
are
He's very down to earth, because he'll post
yes.
that he's going on about obviously the New York Jets during the whole football season every day. He gets so
Yeah.
competitive too, playing pickleball. He took some stitches in the eyebrow last week.
Oh,
Playing
Yeah.
basketball, I caught an elbow, and he's still
all
doing a
right.
talk when he's getting stitched up. He talks about his favorite. I actually sent him an Instagram message once, and he responded because I mentioned
Oh,
wrestling.
that's cool.
He loves
Yeah.
wrestling. The Macho Man is his favorite wrestler and shit.
I spent the
Just
day with him, so there.
yeah, Kara spent the day with
All
him.
right, you got us beat on that.
He is very down to earth, just straightforward kind of guy.
He is. He's
Very
actually so
genuine too.
Yeah.
my friend Shauna, she's an event planner, and she's done some wild shit. This girl, so she lives in Grimsby, Ontario, which is like the tiniest little town near St.
Mhm.
Catharines. But she's kind of like an us. Like there's a lot of shit we shouldn't laugh at. We do, and can get us into trouble.
Yeah.
But so she did an event in 2017 called Haste and Hustle, and it was the second one of it. And I was helping her. Event planning was my very first business. So I love anytime anybody asks me for any event planning, anything, I'm in it. And he was the keynote. And this girl, so leading up to it, this is how good a man this guy is. Okay. The first year she did it in a was supposed to have it in a hall, and they ended, like, she didn't sell tickets. She tells the
Mm.
story openly. She went into deep debt around this. And he was one of the speakers. They actually had to end up doing it in a church in town because
Mm.
the hall was like, you didn't pay your deposit. Sorry, like you can't be here. So he did the talk or whatever in 2016, I think it was. And the next year he said, I'll come do it for free because of what happened last year.
Wow.
And he didn't have a fee. He came and did a talk for nothing. And that's
That's
like,
amazing.
now he's obviously at a different level. Like that was kind of his year of like going from here to like crazy stardom.
Yeah.
But still, like,
Mhm.
what a gentleman, like he just wanted to help her. So I was helping her sell tickets, and man, we rallied like you've never seen people rally before. It was fucking amazing. We ended up selling
That's
tons of
awesome.
so good. And there was a girl there. She was very much a Klingon, and she's like, well, I'm going to take care of Gary while he's here. And, I've got it. Like, no one else, don't worry about it. She just really wanted to be around Gary. And so she made a big thing
Yeah.
about spending all the whole day with him. Well, this chick, like 9 o'clock in the morning, and she's fucking, no one can find her. And Gary's just kind of like, hello. Like, so I jumped in. I was like, well, I'll be security with him, like making sure
Mhm.
people, trying to get him from room to room and whatever. And so I ended up spending the day with him. And he's such a gentleman. Like these kids, because it was a group of, I say the demographic was no more than like 27-year-olds, 30-year-olds, right? Like younger people. Yeah, a lot of
Mhm.
young kids. And they're coming at him, and I'm kind of surrounding him, and I've got a couple other people helping me. And every person, he stopped. Every person he
Yeah.
would just engage in, like they're pitching him, and I would say, no pitching, like stop pitching him. Let's just let him walk, whatever. But
Mhm.
he was so humble and quiet. Like you see how he
Yeah.
talks, he's so quiet. Like, do you want Gary, do you want lunch? Say, yeah, okay. Like he's such a sweetheart. So that's
Yeah.
what he's really like. But yeah, but that again, right? He comes from a place of service. Like that is
Even on his
so,
videos, that's all he does is help people. These
yeah,
young people saying,
Yeah.
I'm 30, I haven't made it yet. What am I supposed to do? He says, you got like fucking 55 years left to live. Chill out.
like go do stuff.
Even
He
even
puts a
people
good
my age,
perspective in there
if
for
you're
it.
50, if you're 55, you got tons of time left. Relax, just stay focused.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Very
he's a great.
practical advice.
So Gary, okay,
And you were you gonna say someone else? I thought it seemed like you were gonna mention
I got
yeah,
I got one other person that I really like. I haven't listened to him in a long time, but it really shaped a lot of things, and that was Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week. Like the the whole thing where I'm always moving around. That's kind of my version of what he calls the mini vacations throughout your life. Like, why wait till you're 65 to live life?
right.
And obviously, way before VAs were popular, he was pushing that whole thing, which I've really been trying to leverage more for things lately. But yeah, the mini vacation thing was always a thing that really stuck with me, and just doing like weekend trips. And my version is like moving around the country or now to the other countries. And I think that's so important because it's like, yeah, why would you want to wait to work this corporate job
Yeah.
and then wait till you're 65 to go spend your money, and like your body's starting to take a shit a little bit? Like, I'd rather do this stuff where I'm still working good.
Yeah. Well, by the time we're all old, we'll be able to like kiosk a new liver and kiosk a new lungs and shit. Like
Yeah.
just clone our
Yeah,
own
order it on the
things.
soda vending machine.
Yeah. I'm
We'll
just
have
gonna get
all of our important organs will be cloned somewhere in a freezer and just pop them new
yeah.
ones in that there's no rejection. They're a perfect match. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a
I'm sure
business
we're
the
heading
three
that
of us
way.
should start. I'm
Yeah.
sure Tony's already
Yeah,
done it, but
I'm sure he
okay.
is.
Last two questions. What's your worst day in business? And then what was your best day in business?
Um, Worst day in business. Yeah, that's a tough one. I guess I can't really think of a specific time, but I would say once or twice in business, you know, you had a client that just you shouldn't be working with, and they made your life slash business life just a living hell because it all kind of ties in together because you can't stop thinking about business shit when you're at home. I would just say like maybe those one or two clients, but I did learn a lot from those scenarios as to who I want to serve and work with
Mhm.
going forward there. And as a result, I only needed one or two lessons in those scenarios
Yeah.
to pretty much avoid that in the future at a pretty good rate. And then best day in business, gosh, I mean, honestly, when I sold my last business was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I
That
was
was
gonna
such a
say.
freeing feeling. If we're looking for, I mean, it was, I can't, I mean, I've had lots of great days with, you know, doing projects with people, giving them wins and stuff like that. But honestly, with the day I sold it was like the most relieving thing ever, just because I was done with that chapter
Yep.
and it just felt like it was time. And so it was such a weird feeling. Like the next morning I woke up and I look at my phone, which I probably shouldn't do when I wake up, and it's like two emails and they weren't from business. They were probably spam on my like spam Gmail thing. But it was such a weird feeling like, wow, I don't need to do anything today. And
Wow.
you know, that feeling was great for a couple weeks. And then I started getting, you know, the itch of what do I do next and all that kind of stuff. But that
That's
was a pretty
awesome.
exciting day. Yeah.
That would
Amazing.
be exciting. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
such a
here's a
great day.
one personal thing I like to ask too. Like when it comes to forget about anything health related, what kind of is your favorite food? Not healthy food, favorite, whatever, street food, fast food, junk food type of thing.
Um,
Are you like a sweet tooth type of person or like a savory type of greasy?
He's a Biscoff
well,
kind of person. Just kidding.
no, I
Oh
used to
right,
love
I'm the
sweets.
Biscoff. I'm the Biscoff, yes.
I used to love sweets, but I had to stop eating all sugar grains and
Oh
everything like
right.
6 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I would have loved some cheesecake. I mean, I loved all that shit. My favorite now, probably a combination between like a filet mignon or like I love any sort of Mediterranean style kebabs or things like that. Like I like food with really bold, strong flavors in it. So
Mm,
you
Cool.
know, authentic Mexican, authentic Mediterranean, whether it's Greek or Jordanian or Lebanese, of course, I love like all of their stuff. So it's probably more of a like a niche of kind I like. And anytime we're looking for a new place to, we always type in Mediterranean. Like we just
really?
know that unless you know they have a low rating and they're just a crappy one, which they have, of course, here in Florida. You know, usually that's where you get. I don't know. I find those places like the people that are making it, they really care about it. It's like old
Hmm.
family recipes sometimes, and like you get this amazing flavor. And so that's what we look for all the time is where's a Mediterranean place, and then we go try them, and sometimes they're great and sometimes they're crap. But even when they're crap, they're not as bad as some of the other places that we tend to
Right.
stumble upon and get irritated that you just spent good money on gross food.
Do you have a high spice tolerance?
Oh yeah, I love spicy, I love hot. If I go to a Mexican restaurant, I say I want what the cooks eat. I don't want the shit you serve the
Oh
customers.
my God.
And
That's
they
Ken, do you
usually
spicy.
have like a
remember?
secret sauce.
Yep.
Mexican guy's spicy is a lot different than the regular North American guy's spicy, that's for sure.
Do you remember that
Oh yeah.
there was a restaurant here called Mexico Lindo? And um Ken
You get
said
the
that.
habanero.
He goes, go and get me, he goes, get me the spiciest, whatever. So I did. And I said, make this. I literally went into the restaurant. I think I said, make my husband sorry he asked for this level of heat.
Spicy, yeah, it was
And
spicy.
They like
he
that challenge in
was,
there.
he was sorry. So was I.
Yeah.
I don't like spicy. There's some really good like taco. Where did I stay, Ken, when I was there for a month? Like is there something called Deer Field? It's
In
like
Florida?
near,
Yeah.
yeah, it's near Boca Raton. Or no.
Yeah, just south of Boca.
Okay. So I stayed there for
Or
a
it could
month
be
and
Delray, which is just north of.
no, it wasn't Delray. But I would go and it was like $3 tacos and these tacos, it was fresh tuna. It was so freaking delicious. Like I probably ate that
Amazing.
4 or 5 times. Yeah.
You
That's
do
one of
have
the
a
things I
poke
love.
bowl around here that you like though,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, I do. Maybe
We
that's
have
the
that
Probably
issue.
problem
going
when we
probably
find
going to get
something that's
that today,
great,
probably.
we go there every day.
My current obsession is, have you seen these Kunafa chocolate bars, the Dubai ones? They're like a
No.
pistachio. Brian, listen to me. I'm not supposed to eat sugar either. I'm also type 2 like on the verge of type 2 diabetes, but
Yeah.
I make an exception. Like I've been watching this stupid thing for weeks, and finally there's one in Ajax, and it's like this thick chocolate bar, but you crack it open and there's kunafa, which is deep fried phyllo shreds, like
Mhm.
shreds, and it's mixed with pistachio. Oh
my
like
God,
the
stop
people
it.
are making fun of us, him, because they're like, weren't you in here yesterday? He's like, yeah, my wife sent me again, but
We're
she
like, so
won't give
far,
me. Tell him what you said.
$20 down in chocolate bars this week, I think, or since last week.
They're so good.
You got to
I
have
gotta
that as a
stop.
budget in the business line item. like
100%.
chocolate bars.
100%. This is not
I'll
your
probably
normal
go and get a
chocolate.
poke bowl too today, now that I mentioned it.
Yeah, you're right.
It's in
That
Carrot
sounds
Head
about
now,
right.
yeah.
Yep. Amazing. Well, thank you. Where can people find you? I guess that'll be kind of the final question. Where, if people want to connect with you and even connect with your business, where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can look up Brian Hardy on there. My business is The Maverick. Our website's themaverick.ai. And yeah, you can jump on there and shoot me an email. I answer the emails on there if anybody ever wants to connect. Happy to always kind of sit down with people and strategize with their business a little bit. And I don't charge for that. It's just, a way of seeing if we are a good fit to work together. And if not, they walk away with some advice of stuff I've learned over the years. So I like consulting. That's actually one of the funnest part of
Oh,
my
it is.
business is kind of like sitting down with people and like, what's going on? What are you doing? And let's see if there's some ways we can, figure out how to get you ahead. So that to me is the exciting part of what I do.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Cool
Yeah.
beans. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Obviously,
you.
I love hearing all of your stories. So thank you for coming on the show. Ken, any final? Nothing. Eh?
Nope, that's it. I'm good.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the next
Thanks a lot,
episode.
Brian.
Thanks, guys.